In 1993, Final Approach changed the way we hunt waterfowl. Now, over 25 years later, we're back at it. My name's Mario, host of the FA podcast. Let's talk waterfowl tips, tricks, tactics, and more. It's all going down right here with the Final Approach podcast.
All right, we've done like serious podcast stuff and got all the carvers here except Jamie Welsh and Tom Christie and Pat Godden and Wayne Simkin, and 28 world championships later, we got these guys. We got such a elite group of carvers and sportsmen and waterfowlers, and we want to kind of get to like a lighter side of being a sportsman and the fun part. Not that carving and doing all this stuff isn't fun, because it's a blast. Working with you guys and working on projects and having this stuff come out and everything about it. But we always talk about the passion side and the fun side, and to me, obviously, the fun side, the ultimate fun side is sitting the other day in a pit, next to all you guys and calling ducks and shooting ducks. I mean, that's the, I don't know about, I know about you guys, but I guess the thing that got us all into this was really chasing birds and studying them and watching them and looking at them and admiring them and just the adrenaline rush of chasing birds. And I mean, we could just like throw it around the room and just start talking and telling stories and BSing. But I remember the first time I went hunting and when it clicked to me that I was going to be a waterfowler and that was my calling. So everybody is a different age, and kind of going back to, maybe the first time you went hunting, and, we could talk about like cool experiences or memorable hunts. I mean, everybody has so many, but we could just kind of go. I'm not going in an order of age, so we'll just kind of go. Tom, you go first. Like, I don't know what.
What are you trying to say?
No. I said I wasn't. I say I wasn't going age. You're just next to me, so we're going that route.
I gotcha. So hunting experiences.
Yeah, what stands out? Like, to me, I know what favorite birds I want to chase, my favorite places I've been. Like, we're just BSing right now.
I think, like a lot of hunters, the ones I remember are the ones I missed. Sometimes more than the ones I got.
Like Wayne Spooney the other day, or what?
When you were talking about hunting, I used to hunt with my dad, and he got me into waterfowling, and we would jump shoot ducks. I think I mentioned that on the Tippecanoe River, and that was an awesome thing. And one of the first times that I got to hold the gun and be in the front of the boat, I was a pretty young kid, felt this deep sense of responsibility to not miss. And we're floating down the Tippecanoe River, and we never see geese. And that day, I was in the front of the boat.
Well, being in the front of the boat, that's like the escalation. Like, you've arrived, because now you're not paddling and you're not shooting. You now are in the front of the boat, and you are the one shooting.
Yeah. And speaking of paddling, I think I learned a lot of life lessons paddling down the Tippecanoe River, because the current was pretty fast, and you always had to hug the inside of the next curve because you wanted to surprise the ducks.
That's right.
And you really had to think ahead, and I didn't figure that out for a while. And
did your dad let you know
that? Go around
that?
the corner backwards, and he was kind enough to teach me. But anyway, I moved my way up to the front of the boat after passing that test, and we hear these geese. And I'm thinking, geese, what are they doing? And it probably took us, it felt like an hour to float into these geese. And they would not move. And I'm in the front of it, and I kept going.
Just looking at them?
We floated right into this bunch of geese before they took off. And you might imagine the end of the story that I'm going to tell is bang, bang, bang.
No birds.
They all flew
No
away.
joy.
Oh man.
And it was humiliating. But I was so excited. I think I was just
Oh, you're just jacked up.
because neither of us could believe we floated right into that group of geese, and they were so close. I could have reached out and hit
Just
them
grab
with
one.
the gun. But anyway, that's just one story I can think of.
Oh, we'll go through a bunch. So before I go to Pat, I'll throw it because because this is what happens on a session like this. Like you tell a story and I think of something immediately and then it sticks with me. As soon as you said geese, I remember the first time we went on the Susquehanna River up in Pennsylvania, and it was a morning hunt, and we were on the bank, and we had a bunch of decoys out, and I strictly remember there was a lone honker that he got shot at downriver and then came upriver, and there were some guys that had a boat that were on one of the islands, and then they shot at him, and then he went all the way upriver, and the guys upriver shot at him, and then he came back down, and somebody else shot at him, and the poor goose got shot at like I don't know how many times,
Running
right?
the gauntlet.
And when he came back down and he passed those guys on the island again, he came down and I think he was going to go on the outside of the island, and he just changed his mind at the last minute and must have floated a little too close to those guys. And they shot a couple times and they had hit him, and then I don't think they either watched him or they weren't sure. And we were on this side of the shore, on this side of the river, and I watched him, and he was going, and he was going towards this rock quarry, and I watched him, and then all of a sudden I watched him go down, it was me, my dad, my brother, and this guy we used to hunt with, Booker, and I said, Dad, that goose went down, and he said, what? And I said, I watched him go down right by the rock quarry. And I said, if we run up to the truck and go down to the rock quarry, I know he's right. I know exactly where he is. And my dad's looking at me like, did you really see, are you? And I said, I know it. And literally we get in the truck, and me and my dad and my brother, Booker stayed back. Me and my dad and my brother go flying down to the rock quarry and pull up. And we pull like into the parking lot, and there's this big, sand gravel bank, and then right down to the river, right? And I said, it was right here, I know it. And we get out, and and my dad's like, okay. And I had a 20 gauge 870, I remember. And my dad's like, okay, get a couple shells and get the gun. And he's like, we'll walk to the bank, maybe he's on the shore. And literally, I turn around and I grab a couple shells and I put them in the gun, and I make sure the safety's on, and I take 2 steps, and all of a sudden, on the other side of the bank, I just see this big head pop up, and I go, he's right there, right? And my dad's like, okay, just take your time and start walking close, and he's going to get up, so be ready. It's a big bird. Well, he's hit pretty hard, right? I don't know this, right? So I'm walking, and I'm getting closer, and I'm getting closer. And I'm literally 10 yards away
You better
and
start
shaking with the
backing.
gun, right? And I look back at my dad and I go, he's not flying. And my dad's like, shoot him. Oh, I turkey punched him and sawed up pretty good. He was done right there, right? Now, this is no BS. I go running over the bank. Obviously, I put the safety on and take off, 120 gauge shot, run over the brink, grab it, and come back. And I sawed him pretty good like a turkey, so there is blood everywhere. And I come running back. And at this time, I'm so jacked, I'm like beside myself. This is the first goose I ever shot. Like I'm like 12 or whatever I am. I come running back. I know nothing at the time. Banned.
Oh.
So
Oh, wow.
how many
Nice.
guys shot at that goose? Nobody went to retrieve it. Nobody did. It's got a band.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And my dad has the band at home in a box, like the whole deal, right? So, but my my dad maybe put the goose's head in a plastic bag because it was that bad of a shot. Like that was bloody. But I'll never forget that. That was like another thing that I was like, no, I watched it. I saw it go down, like the whole deal. Go ahead, Pat. Your turn. Like
wow.
I just I don't know. It's those stories that you takes you back.
Yeah, man. I can't think of
You've
the
hunted
story I
so
want to
many
tell.
places.
I've got so many stories I could tell. Not enough time, but
Go back to when you were a kid, maybe, or something. Like,
Well,
because you
yeah.
hunted in such
oh yeah,
different,
Well,
Louisiana or all these places. Like,
yeah. Well, I've been involved in carving so long that a lot of my hunting trips also doubled as specimen collecting trips. And I remember every time I shot a duck, I'd be looking at that duck and just, absorbing all the information about that bird. I carved my first competition decoy, a green-winged teal, in 1973. I still have the mount of that bird I used, and I had done the taxidermy work on it myself. So I had, at that time, I was mounting a lot of the good specimens that I had shot. Yeah. So anyway, that I collected a lot of my reference material through during the hunts that I made, and the one that there was back in early '90s. I had this idea. I wanted to do this spectacular pair of pintails. And I had a fairly fresh Drake pintail specimen, but I didn't have a hand.
Okay.
And, of course, I did a lot of hunting, and I've hunted all over the place, from Saskatchewan, North Dakota, Michigan, the East Coast, and Maryland, and a lot in Louisiana, because that's where my father-in-law was from, and we hunted a lot. And so he was just a passionate waterfowl. Jimmy Vizier, a legendary carver. So anyway, we went out to hunt, and one of my objectives during my trip down there was to try to collect a pintail hen.
Right.
Because the limits down there was one pintail.
One total, right.
So I had set myself up in this one spot in his hunting area, and I had in my mind, if I get a chance, I'm going to collect that pintail hen. Well, I had a beautiful pair of pintails, Drake and a hen, decoying in. I used my little pintail whistle, and they were coming in.
You got them.
Now, almost everybody would have shot the Drake, and in almost all situations, I would rather shoot the Drake, but I knew I had to shoot the hen. So anyway, I ended up shooting the hen, and I had my limit of pintails right there, and I did the taxidermy work on that bird, and that's been the primary reference for several of my highest quality pintail hen carvings. But I even thought at the time, man, I'd love to shoot that Drake, but I had
I'm
to
here
shoot
for
the hen.
I'm here for
And
work.
it was an absolutely beautiful hen.
It?
So I don't, from my perspective, I didn't regret taking that bird.
I mean, that's like you said, it's almost more of a work thing. I mean, it sounds like terrible work. Like you got to go hunting and collect specimens, and that sounds like a pretty rough job. We were doing it the other day.
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, somebody has to be sent, to go.
Yeah.
What about you, Wayne? What?
Well, it's kind of funny, like you, again, talk about things that kind of trigger a memory.
Absolutely.
I remember my first goose. We were down at the Big Creek Club, which was a private club down on the western shore of Lake Erie.
Yeah.
And it was primarily mallards that were in there. And we heard a goose. And I was there with my 870 20 gauge with a poly choke on it.
All of us.
And as soon as I heard the goose, I cranked her right down. Extra
You're
full.
like, I'm ready.
And the goose is coming. And my dad was saying he could hear, as the goose got closer, he'd hear click, click, as I'm opening up the choke. He's coming closer.
I'm dialing him in.
Yeah. And he finally came in, knocked him down. And I remember my dad saying, okay, when he hits the water, if he's moving, shoot him again.
That's right.
And he came down. He was belly up, but his feet were flopping. So I was just peppering him. I think
he's moving.
I think I was 16 at the time, and just so excited to get my first goose. It was incredible.
Oh my God!
Back in those days, geese were pretty rare.
Yeah.
So that was a real trophy.
Yeah, no,
Today,
it was.
Today, goose really isn't a trophy, but
no, there wasn't the
back
number
in
of
those
giants
days.
around that there is then. But I think recently, like sort of one of the memorable ones is going down to Lake St. Clair for the first time about 9 years ago. And just being around the sort of the mecca of waterfowling in Ontario, that with the old market hunting days and then the private clubs.
Oh yeah,
and that type of thing, and sitting out in that marsh and looking out in the bay and seeing literally tens of thousands of birds getting up. We didn't shoot a lot of birds, but it's just
The scene.
the environment was incredible. It was, just to be a part of that, watching the swans flying around, and then shooting my first canvasback.
I mean, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, I didn't shoot my first canvasback until, I grew up in Pennsylvania. It's mallards, couple black ducks, couple wood ducks. Occasionally you'll see a widgeon if you swear they got lost. Lots of Canada geese, lots of big Canada geese. Now it's changed where there's a ton of snows. But, we couldn't wait till, the opening weekend of deer season because that was going to be right after Thanksgiving. And then nobody would show up to school Monday. So they made Monday a holiday. So then they never even had school because everybody was at deer camp. So then they finally just canceled school on Monday. So Pennsylvania, that's a national holiday. So we couldn't wait for deer season because we're thinking, man, as soon as everybody starts deer hunting, we're going to have every goose field and pond. We got it. We got it made as soon as deer season starts because everybody's going to deer hunt and we're just going to have it all. And that's how it was. Me and my brother were, we had just gotten out of college and we were already working and we were living in Allentown at the time. And man, the goose hunting was just absolutely lights out. But shooting other birds was you weren't going to find that much other ducks until I got into a different industry and started moving around the country. So, you guys have you always been in Canada or moved or
I've always lived in Canada.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Pat, you?
Yes.
But hunted and traveled a lot, so you've been through all the states, right?
I've hunted in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Had the fortunate opportunities to do that.
Yeah. And Tom, you?
I was a manufacturing guy, so I moved quite a few places around the country. Lived in Indiana, Ohio, went overseas. Just one more memorable hunt while we're talking about it.
Go for it.
In Ohio, when I was stationed there working with Whirlpool Corporation, a buddy of mine got permission to hunt this flooded bean field, and it wasn't a normal hunting spot.
Right.
And I thought, yeah, I'll go with you.
I'm in.
And we went out there in the dark and got in a fence row close to this flooded bean field. And before it got light, we could hear the birds coming in overhead, and you could hear their wings hitting each other as they're bombing into this bean field. And it started to get light, and we didn't want to shoot because the ducks were just pouring in, and we looked up, and there was this, we called them killer bees. It was like this spiral of ducks. A swarm above us, and they just kept spiraling around and coming down, and there must have been 1,000 ducks coming down, and we were just kind of stunned. Nobody wanted to shoot. There was just the two of us. But being hunters, we did decide at one point we are going to shoot. So we kind of leaned to each other, and we, black ducks were prized.
Sure.
If you could find a black duck, and there were black ducks out there, and I said, I'm taking the one on the left, you take the one on the right, and we at one point just had to flush the group, and we picked the black ducks off first, and then pretty much got our limit right away there. But it was just an incredible experience sitting under there in awe, watching those birds spiral down and just land right in front of us. So. It's that type of experience that just drives your passion.
Yeah. Being able to move in the industry I was in before and move all around the country and then, go from the East Coast to a little bit in the South, like North Carolina, and then moving out west, I had shot a couple different birds on the East and whatever, and then moving west, I shot my first can. I shot my first can at Summer Lake in Oregon, and it wasn't a real good one. But there was 3 drakes and 1 hen, and it was early, so they weren't really plumed up. But I'll never forget, and this is a time when I just get out there, and I've never even seen a canvasback live, right? Like while I'm hunting, you see them maybe somewhere, and then all of a sudden, you see them pitch over this big pool of water, and I see them, and I'm like, holy crap. And I just pull the gun and just pray like one of them's going to fall. And one of the drakes fell. And I was like, I was beside myself. The dog comes back, and I got a can, and I'm like out of my mind. Like that was one of the coolest things. I was not expecting to see a canvasback at Summer Lake, which was like all puddle ducks. I mean, mallards and a lot of gadwall and teal and you name it. And so early in the season, I was not expecting that. So that just blew me away. It wasn't a great one. I didn't mount it, but that was
It was the first one.
it was the first one. Yeah. I mean, I remember that like it was yesterday, you know, the first can. Yeah. I mean, the first anything kind of, I remember my first pintail, you know what I mean, where I was, because Pennsylvania, you're not seeing pintails.
Right.
You know, then I moved to California, and I was in Bakersfield. I'll never forget it. I was in a pit. I was in this little club that had different places, different ways, and it was a foggy morning, and sitting there, and nothing's really moving, and then all of a sudden it's like a movie. All of a sudden this group of pintails comes out of the fog and makes a swing like right in front of me, and they turn, and I see like a monster bull, right? And I'm like, holy crap. And they make one right turn, and they come right in the decoys, and I stand up and I shoot, and I swear I thought I shot one, but I can't tell because it's kind of foggy, and I send the dog, and I'm like, oh my God, did I get one? Did I not get one? And I'm sitting there. I'm in the pit, and I'm kind of up to here, and I'm watching, and I'm looking for the dog, and all of a sudden he comes out of the fog with this monster pintail, and I was like, I don't even know what to do. I'm like, I'm not with anybody. Like, there's nobody to go. That's awesome. And I'm just like, me and the dog are just having this experience that just absolutely just blows my mind. And that's the first pintail I get mounted. That's the first bird my dad did some birds for us when we were kids, right? But that's the first bird I go get mounted and is on my wall today, you know? Like, just nuts.
Yeah. No, there's nothing like that. And when you target a bird like that canvasback I was telling you about that I shot down Lake St. Clair, I was going down there,
Yeah.
you know, for more than one reason. But it was just before the canvasbacks were the pairs for the World Championships. And I wanted to get, you know, some nice specimens.
Right.
And I ended up getting them there, and it was one of the canvasbacks that I shot that day was just an absolute snowball. Like, you can see him coming in with a group of birds, and you know, some of the drakes were kind of a whitish color, and this guy was just white. And I had it in the back of my mind, I'm gonna miss. I just know it. But
You talked yourself into it.
yeah.
Into missing.
No, I got him.
You did get him.
Oh my God.
The first canvasback I ever got, it was kind of like yours. Out of the blue, I'm in Ohio, and this canvasback shows up, and it's incredible. And I knocked him down, but I didn't kill him. And I'm in a rowboat
Oh my God.
with no motor
Oh.
on the river, and I'm beside myself to go get this canvasback.
And now the chase is on.
And the chase is on, and if you could have seen me rowing that boat, and I got out
National
in the
crew,
middle of it, and every once in a while you'd see this little guy stand up and then sit back down and start rowing like a fiend.
Get it up.
again.
National
plane.
crew champion,
Yeah.
you know, Tom Christie on the U.S. Olympic team
Well, it
for
was a
rowing.
stupid thing to do because I'm in a rowboat in the middle of a river with a stiff wind, and by the time I realized where I was about half mile down river, and never got the canvas back. So this is a sad story.
Oh.
But anyway, I turned to row back, and there was no way.
Oh my God. Did you
And
just go to shore?
I went to shore, and I walked the boat through mud flats
Oh.
back to my blind, and I was so exhausted. Every once in a while, I had to just stop and lay down in the boat and catch my breath. And so I figured by the time I got back to the blind, well, that's what you get, Christy, for wounding the only canvasback you ever got.
And that's what you get for not having a motor on that boat.
Yeah,
I gotta
exactly.
save money, and I gotta stop this nonsense.
I didn't have any money, but I was out there in a rowboat. Stupid, but I'll never forget it.
Most of the stories either come from something as triumphant as that, well, as Wayne's, like, or as deflating as yours.
Exactly,
Or
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I've had so many of those stories, but they're the memories that stick with you, unfortunately, right? You're like, like your worst time waterfowling, like whatever the worst experience was, whether you fall in the water, fall out of the boat, you have to trudge 20 miles in mud. That's where, you're like, why am I doing this? Like, those are the stories that stick with you just as much as like shooting that first can or shooting your first goose or whatever. Like, those
Missing
are the
a spoonie.
miss,
spoon.
like, whatever. I mean, that's what kind of.
I'm just telling the sad stories, but they're great. Obviously a lot of great.
No, and I think
Great
as a carver too, and I'm probably the other two guys can agree that sort of one of the ultimate limits of birds is to have, if you got a 6-bird limit wherever you are, to have 6 different species. It's a lot of fun. You see them coming in. Oh, there's a widgeon, or there's a gadwall, and
I mean, if you have
See
that
him up
opportunity,
close.
yeah.
if you have that opportunity, I've never experienced that until I did move out west, right? And then, we go out and I say to myself, you start seeing all these birds and you're like, maybe this is the day, maybe I try it. You shoot a mallard and then it's like widgeon come in, and then you shoot a widgeon, and then it's like some pintails. You shoot your pintail, and then teal buzz by and you burn one of those, and then you're like, I can make this happen, right? And I don't even remember if I know I shot all drakes on. I don't know what I shot in teal. I don't remember, but I know I shot a drake mallard, a drake widgeon, a drake pintail. So I'm 3 drakes in the hole, and then I know I shot a bluebill, a drake bluebill, and I shot a green-winged teal, and then I don't know what I shot next. I don't even know what it was. It might have been I don't think it was a spoonie. It might have been a can or a bufflehead or something. But it was like, there you go. There's your 7, and it's just, who can do that? Like, shooting all mallards, drake mallards is awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But
It's rare to have the place where you can actually do that.
Yeah.
Some
Right.
places you're primarily one species of bird, and maybe the odd other bird that'll come in, but
yeah,
to have the opportunity to shoot that many birds.
No, most times that
Mind-blowing.
I've been out hunting, if you have 6 birds fly in, you're going to be shooting at 6 birds. Whether
That's right.
They're mallards or black ducks or buffleheads or whatever.
you got to
is.
make it happen.
Yeah.
But to have the luxury at a place like that, and a day when you're seeing that many birds, and you have the choice. Like, listen, we've been on those hunts where you can, absolutely shoot, all your limit of drake mallards, or, drake mallards and your bonus duck of a drake pintail or a widgeon, or, something like that. But, being able to pick out birds and go through that, you have the luxury to do that. That's pretty awesome.
It is. It's
It's a rare opportunity.
amazing.
Yeah.
I've got a.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I've got a interesting decoy story.
Go for it.
This is quite a long ways back. We planned a trip to James Bay to hunt snow geese. This is way before snow geese were overabundant and
Right.
everything, so it was a real...
Like a big deal.
Yeah, it was a real big deal.
Yeah.
You up there. Of course, you had to fly up, then you had to get on a float plane, fly to the camp. So I was always... I was carving at that time, carving decoys, so I was kind of interested. Well, what are they going to use for decoys up here? Well, they were the native Aboriginal guides that took us out,
Right.
and I can't remember if they had 2 or 3 of us. The one guide took us to this spot and had a little willow blind that had been already. They'd probably hunted out of it, but there was no decoys. And I went, well, let's. I knew we were going to try to decoy birds, and he got this stick and he got his hatchet and he started hacking away at it and formed like a little chisel thing, and it turned out that was his little shovel he was making. He'd go out in the mud flat and he'd dig around a little circle and he'd turn this chunk of mud over top to make a little mound. He did this with a whole bunch of these, and then he had these whole bunch of white feathers from the secondary feathers from a snow goose,
Right.
that they had obviously plucked around that. He'd take those and he stuck them in. That was representing the head of what it would turn out to be a blue goose. Well, you look at them close, you think, man, they don't look like anything, but
Right.
you stood back and you've seen all these out there. It looked like a flock of geese. And sure enough, we decoyed birds into that.
Oh my
So
God.
that puts it in perspective. These are real naive birds, so
Sure.
they decoy easy.
But still.
Yeah, and but we're trying to make really refined, beautiful decoys. But up there, the very simple method worked, and of course they were doing all their calling these birds by their mouth calls, and
Yeah, I know when I was in Moose Knee there, they used to get the kids, the boys, that when their voices were starting to crack,
Right.
and they'd put them out with the decoys
Oh, my
to
God.
call.
yeah, the real high pitch. And
Yeah.
That's funny.
Let's do this. Like that just spurred something that I thought of. Like, so obviously everybody's a decoy guy here. So what about like the weirdest or most primitive or off the wall, like decoys that you remember ever seeing or hunting over or whatever? Because I think of, me and my brother made we cut out plywood silhouettes and painted them and did the black and white, no detail, like literally just I guess you would call them gunning silhouettes at the time. You know what I mean? No detail, no nothing. I remember doing that. I remember guys in Maryland cutting tires in half, and the tires, using those. And if they wanted to have like snows in there, they would paint the tires white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that goes way back. So, can you think of anything that you're like, I can't believe we're hunting over that, or I whatever?
Yeah, I've hunted over tires.
Yeah.
I mean, and we just had some silhouette heads.
Correct.
That we put the white cheek patch on, stuck it in front of the tire,
And off you go.
and the birds came in. I mean, there were new birds. I don't think you could pull well-educated Canada geese in.
Right.
It's like where I live, they get pounded pretty good, so
Right.
they smarten up in a hurry. But I mean, the first decoys that I made that I hunted over were pretty primitive in my standards nowadays.
Sure.
And some of them collected a bit of shot, and and I think that's the tire decoys are probably the most primitive that I've hunted over. I've made some silhouettes for
Right.
puddle ducks and that for out in the field.
Sure. My buddy up in Alberta, Brad Fenson, who's an outdoor writer. So Brad gave me a couple decoys, and so did Tyler. And Tyler's is a silhouette decoy that's so old it's unbelievable. But Brad gives me this. It looks like a mallard, right? And it literally is like an oblong, like just shape, and it's kind of painted like, so if you were looking down at a mallard, it kind of looks like the top of the mallard, right? But there's no head, and I'm like, and he gives me this, and he's got a couple of them, and I start looking at it, and it literally is some kind of belt off a piece of farm equipment, a big like conveyor belt, and that somebody had. Literally, they would take those and put them out in the field, and then underneath there was like a little leather like strap that was kind of riveted that you could tie line to, and I'm guessing, I haven't tried it, I have it at home, I'm guessing it would float, and they would just put it on the water, but it would lay flat. But I'm like, that is the most, I've never, all the places I've been, the decoy museum, like call it what you, I've never seen one like that. I don't know if you guys have ever heard or seen it, but it literally, it was this thick. It was like I don't want to say like a fan belt, but like a conveyor belt. Craziest thing.
Never heard of that.
No, it almost goes exactly the opposite of what you would figure a decoy, because you've always want that profile sticking up.
No head, no nothing,
Yeah.
just straight flat.
Yeah, so they only see it when they're flying over top.
Yeah. I mean, go figure, like, the most primitive decoys and going way, way back. I mean, where all this started. So
But did it work?
I have no idea.
Huh.
You know what I mean? I got it at the house. I only got one of them, so probably wouldn't get many in with just one. But I don't know if I had 20 or 30. Like, who knows? But like, who all of a sudden looked at a conveyor belt on the farm, right? And was like, oh, let's chop that up and make a decoy. Like, who? That's what I mean. That's like a real waterfowl mind. Like, he's got problems, like us.
Crab buoy or a
Yeah.
Clorox bottle you paint black and
Yeah.
hang out there, and it'll pull them in. I'm like Wayne. The most rudimentary thing I've ever hunted over is my own first decoys.
Really?
They weren't very pretty. but they were effective.
What did they used to use, Pat, down in Louisiana and stuff? Did you ever see wild stuff down there? Or?
Not really, because they had been real
lot of carvers.
seriously into carving,
Yeah.
decent representation of ducks from, several generations. So, the one thing that they did to a lot of of course, down there they hunt out of pirogues, which are narrow little boats that sometimes aren't that stable, but they also have limited room to put gear in.
Right.
So a lot of them carved decoys that were really small versions.
Okay.
They're small versions
So
of
you get
mallards
more?
or pintails, so they could put more in the sack of decoys so that they had more quantity
Right.
when they put them out. So that was kind of something that you look at the old decoys that they made down there.
A lot
of them
smaller.
are fairly small, and my father used to say, "Well, it's because we hunt out of pirogues all the time." And I don't
They
think
used a lot of cypress root. Is that
Oh yeah,
right,
yeah,
for
cypress root,
material?
cypress root doesn't come very
Big,
large.
right.
So they would make the
Right.
decoy according to the size of wood they had. So
Sure.
if they had a smaller piece of wood, they'd have a smaller decoy in the end. That's you look at all the different styles that come out from decoys carving over, long time ago from all the different regions.
Right.
They're all different styles. You go to Michigan and there are a lot of big decoys that they hunt the big water with
Yes.
on the Great Lakes, and then there's carvings where they hunted the rivers a lot, so they made them a specific style to hunt in the rivers.
Chesapeake Bay with round bottoms
Yeah,
to handle waves.
Yeah, every place. You're right. I mean, every place has its own. I mean, when I moved to Oregon, I didn't understand all the history there until I was there, and Don Guthrie, who had Columbia River Decoys, and I had met Don at the time and became super close friends, and still to this day. But Don taught me all this market gunners, out of Astoria, which is another famed area for carvers and market gunners, and you had all these, I learned all these different boats, and classic boats that came out of there, and the market gunners and the duck shacks that are floating, down that way, and the decoy carvers, and there's, everybody will always talk about, Maryland and the Eastern Shore, and then you talk about, Michigan and a couple other places, or Ontario,
Great
even up with
Lakes.
you guys. I mean,
yeah.
but
There's a lot of great tradition in Ontario.
I mean, the tradition
For-
out
for
there was
carving
just
decoys.
incredible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I was thinking of this, and I'll go first, and then you guys could think about your experience. But out of all the birds, waterfowl birds that we chase, ducks and geese, what have you not harvested? So think about that, and I'll start, because I don't even know if I know all of them. I know I do. I'm missing, out of, like, say you're the 41. Everybody chases the 41 or whatever. You know what I mean? The species or whatever. Let's call it. I don't have, and mine aren't that hard, I don't think, and I don't even know them all. I might have to pull up the thing, but I know I don't have a redhead. Never shot a redhead. I have not shot either golden eyes. I don't have the whistling or the fulvous tree duck. You know what I mean? I don't have those, and I'm trying to think of what, and I could pull the list up on my phone to kind of take a look, but I don't. I'm trying to think of what else I don't have, but those I don't have. I have all the geese, I believe. I even have a swan that when we went to Utah, we drew our swan tags and got to shoot a swan. I'm missing a brant, believe it or not. I'm missing both. I'm missing Pacific and Atlantic. So there's two more I'm missing. So is your brain working, Wayne? Do you know like what you're missing, or?
Well, I know what I'm missing, but
Yeah.
it's been opportunity.
Well, sure.
It's just if I was to say, okay, what would be some of the birds that I would love to harvest?
Right.
I think a harlequin duck could be right
I'm
up
missing
there.
that one. I'm missing that.
A friend and I lucked into.
I better make a list here. I'm
some
missing
cheek-
old squaw too. I just thought of that. I'm missing that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but a friend that we harvested a couple of king eiders on Lake Ontario, which
missing
is,
that.
you know, really, really strange.
That's rare.
And it was, like I say, it was a friend and I, actually a fellow carver. We were out at Presqu'île Point, and we saw these 3 birds coming in, and we're both pretty good at our duck ID.
Sure.
And they're coming in, and I didn't want to look like a fool and say I think they're eiders.
But you were kind of
And
stunned a little
I
bit.
was kind of thinking, it's like, you know, you kind of going through the list and knocking things down and say it's not that, it's not that, it's
Right.
not that. And sure enough, just as they're coming in the decoys, it's like I said to Lionel, I said, those are eiders. You know, we were lucky enough. We scratched down 3 of them,
Oh,
and
my
it was
God.
a nice hen and 2 juveniles. But I really like to get a nice mature male king eider. Those would probably be the top 2. But again, it's just opportunity
Sure.
to get something like that. The local birds that, you know, like going back to the canvasback, I've always wanted to
yeah.
get a canvasback, and I didn't get one until a few years ago. Redheads, you know, but then the puddle ducks to shoot. And I guess my thing is not necessarily a species, but is a prime representative of the species.
Well, sure, a good one.
Yeah, you know,
Right.
like a Drake pintail. I still haven't got one of those. I've shot some juveniles and some
Come
molting
on,
birds.
Wes,
and-
Bubba. I got you. Come on, Wes. We'll
Okay.
get you. We'll get you an ink pen. I call them, where you could pull it out and just write your John Hancock with
I
one
got
of
the
those
I got the
pintails.
luggage
They're
here,
so
and I'm
long,
halfway there.
buddy. Let's go. Let's go. What about you, Pat? I mean, you've traveled pretty. You know,
Yeah, but
Pretty
I
good.
have to say, there's a lot more birds that I haven't shot
Right.
that I have.
Yeah.
yeah. And you know, I could say there's some that I was fortunate to harvest that I wasn't
Sure.
expecting. Like one was a model duck in Louisiana.
oh yeah. See, I've never.
Yeah, I'd never.
Right.
I shot one, and I only had one opportunity. And I managed to shoot shovelers,
Oh yeah.
and then a bird that's really difficult to get in really good plumage is a blue-winged teal, the drake. But in hunting in Louisiana in January,
Prime.
I was lucky enough. And interesting thing is, most of those blue wings have already gone further south from Louisiana.
Oh, they're in Mexico at that point, right?
Mexico and even some of the Caribbean islands. Apparently, Barbados, the only duck that they have there are blue-winged teal in the winter.
Next trip,
Yeah,
Barbados.
yeah.
Tom,
yeah.
you in?
For me, the sea ducks.
Oh, I'm saying, are you in for the Barbados?
Oh,
trip?
I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are
Oh,
you-
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Get
in
you
on that
shorts?
pintail trip too. I'd
Oh,
love
yeah.
to do
Okay.
that.
Well, then we're moving.
As long as we're asking.
Yeah, let's go. Was there anything else that you were thinking?
Um,
And then we'll come right to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, the whole bunch of the sea ducks. I've got bull squaws and none of the eiders, and they would all be great birds to collect. And my son lives in Alaska, so
Oh, yeah.
I
You need to
may
do that.
get the opportunity to do that one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, like Wayne was talking about, you know, some things and what you want to chase versus, like, do I want to go, you know, shoot a fulvous tree duck or a whistling duck or a mottled duck like that? I don't necessarily need to like check that off. Like, I'm not like chasing the 41 or doing that. Like, I don't want to check. Like, that doesn't seem like anything. Like, if I had the opportunity, cool. But do I want, like, the redheads on the top? Like, but I haven't shot a blue wing prime.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, that's there.
Yeah.
Like, those two probably are the highest. You know, do I have opportunities to shoot golden eyes? Yes. Have I? Like, I haven't just pressed that issue. Like, we were on the Snake River a long time ago in Idaho, and they were just buzzing by us like it was, you know, traffic, and I just didn't shoot one, like, because we were shooting all mallards and widgeons, so I didn't want to be the guy to shoot the, you know.
Well, I would have been that guy.
I was thinking, I thought about it, and I was like, at that time I was working for Buck Gardner, and I was thinking to myself, you know, because they would get like almost hot, like you shot a widgeon, and I'm thinking to myself, I shot this Drake widgeon he is like the one we shot the other day, like tuxedo clean, right? White, snow white, like white. And I'm like, he comes in and I'm like, holy God, do you see that? And I just pull up and shoot them, and they're all shooting mallard drakes, and I'm like, and they're like, who shot the widgeon? I'm like, me. Don't do that. You're ruining the picture. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He was stone white. Like you just lay him down and put your head on him and go to sleep. Like it was just a pillow. And they were all like, and I'm like, oh crap, I better not do that again. Like I'm in hot water. What is there something you want?
Mainly the sea ducks that I haven't had the opportunity to hunt. Cinnamon teal, I've never got one of those.
That's rare.
I'd really like to
It's
get
a rare one.
a really beautiful pintail drake. I've never had that opportunity. So
In January, you guys come on out to me.
yeah,
And we'll get you.
they're
Adam, who's the
amazing.
camera guy, like Adam can tell you, he shot his booner. It's at the taxidermist, right, Adam? Yeah. Yep, it's at the taxidermist right now. We shot a monster last year. Like literally, every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, everybody took their time and picked a pintail, and if you laid them all out, it'd be like, nice one, nice one, nice one, nice one. Holy crap. That was his.
That was Adam's.
Oh, it was like you literally laid them out and you could see the tail was 2.5 inches longer than everybody. And we had shot some good ones. And it was like, holy God, that one will poke your eye out. Like that's how awesome it was.
Nice.
Yeah. So cool. I mean, there's so much that goes into this, you know what I mean? And the memories and chasing stuff and doing stuff. It's just, it's a privilege to kind of be able to do this. You know, you guys do it for a living. Now you're doing it in your retirement. You're doing it while you're still working. Pat's made a living out of it his whole life. Pretty fortunate, you know.
Very fortunate.
You know, to be
agree.
able to do this and then to have the opportunity to, get you guys involved in this and make this company, so relatable and so man, just raise the level. I mean, literally raise the level of what we're doing and the set the bar so high of excellence where we're at right now. Like it's pretty serious. Like I think about it all the time. I know, some people might take it for granted, but I look at you guys and the birds that we're putting out. I say you guys are doing most of the work. I'm just like the medium to stick it all together, but it's pretty impressive. Like I get a little, this is a lifelong dream of doing this, and doing it with you guys is so much better. I never dreamed that I would have this many, world championships. I mean, my friend Don Guthrie is, he's been a huge carver and an influence in my life, back at home. And, I tell him, I told him like last week, I'm going over to, where are you going this week? He's always like, where are you going? I'm like, I said, I'm going over to the Rogers office to visit everybody and have some meetings, and we're going to go hunting, and I'm going to see all the carvers, and we're going to hang out. And he's like, oh. He said, who's going? I said, well, Wayne's coming down, and Pat Godden will be there, and Tom Christie, and no offense to you guys, but this is his guy right here. like he has every one of your like pattern books, but soon as I say this guy, he comes over to the house in the office, and I have my pintail right by the office that you painted on right by literally right on my desk, like almost right where this one is, and I'm on the computer, and Don comes up and he's like, look at that. That's just a sweetheart. Look at that. Oh, look at that. So he's
very kind.
He's your guy.
He's a true fan.
He is, and he's just been, but he's seen everybody's work here, and because he's a carving guy, he admires you guys and what you do and the stuff that you put out, and it's cool that not just the carving guys, but the customers now get to see this in your work, because maybe they wouldn't be exposed to you guys normally, but they get that box of decoys and it says 2-time world champion Wayne Simpkin carved this, and they're like, oh crap, like maybe I'll go look him up and see what else he's done or whatever. But that's just cool, and guys get to kind of I don't know, this is pretty cool. I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of stunned to be honest.
To see bird carvings of the highest level, pretty much a rare opportunity. The only would be at the competitions, which are kind of few and far between. And to have be able to see like quality pieces like this, that hopefully it opens a few people's eyes as to what's out there, make them look a little bit further, and as we were talking earlier, maybe get them into carving
Sure.
their own pieces and going to the shows and
being able to share these quality birds that are mass-produced birds with people. I feel like this is almost something that you'd put at a contest. I'm not even joking. Like, you talk about decorative birds and gunning birds together. It's like, I'm not saying, yeah, you can enter that in a contest because it's mass produced, but like the paint scheme and how close, like if you were looking at 50 feet, like you'd have to look a little twice maybe. The way the anatomy is and how correct it is and the color from a little bit, like you might go, holy crap, that's a contest bird.
Well, I don't want to blow Tom's head up a little bit, but the other day when we had that female widgeon sitting in the decoys, and she was sitting right beside the hen that he'd done. And the profile of those two birds.
She had her head tucked just like the damn decoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
I tried so hard to get a picture of that with my cell phone, but I think you guys got.
I think
good
Adam got
shots
some
of
video
that.
of it, and obviously
So
you
it
could
was
see
a
that.
proud moment.
Yeah, proud papa.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the
right.
experience. That's as cool as it
Yeah.
gets. Like,
But you're right, Mario. You can't get better carving reference than that wood duck right there.
Yeah.
Other than if you would
Yeah.
buy a full-blown
Yeah.
decorative carving.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, a carver that wants to carve one of these species of birds,
like you
they
can
could-
go
they
off
could,
of
they
it.
could learn a lot just from looking at these decoys.
Yeah.
and you can't beat a three-dimensional reference. You can use a lot of two-dimensional reference pictures, but it
Yeah.
doesn't give you in the round.
No, in the round would be exactly. So, yeah, listen, we appreciate you guys a bunch. Once again, Jamie Welsh isn't here in South Carolina, and we miss Jamie, and he's had some stuff going on, so he couldn't make it. He was busy and whatnot, and Jamie's an incredible carver and, has done some awesome birds like the new live lessers, and Jamie did the spoonie that was like a huge buzz, last year that everybody was
Right.
like, oh, look at that spoonie, and the color was
Beautiful
just
bird.
sick. And just everything about, but you guys have definitely made this like an easy go and a awesome brand. There's no doubt this is pretty cool stuff. So I
It's
want to say
getting better
thanks.
and better every day.
Yeah.
Listen, that trying to get to the top, not as hard. Trying to stay to the top, if we get to the top, that's huge. So we're just, grind away, like keep going. So
Getting after it.
yeah. So we appreciate all you guys and everything you do, and hats off. So there it is. If you guys want to see anything else or go to the websites, you can literally go to the FA Brand website, fabrand.com. You can go to the one in Canada, fabrand.ca. We have European distributors if you're in any of the European countries. Is there anything like pages, like we'll go through everybody's social media pages to find you, Wayne, or anything?
I don't have anything, but if anybody wanted to
Sure.
contact me through my email
There you go.
at waynesduck at gmail.com,
There you
I'd
go.
be more than happy
Yeah,
to
and if they
answer
want to
any
get a hold of me,
questions.
I'll get them in touch with you.
Yeah.
But you have your website
Well, I've got
and
a
your book
website.
and your book coming and all kind of stuff with you going
That's
on.
right. That's right. The website, gardenart.com, and I've got a Facebook link there
Sure.
too. You can get right to my Facebook page. It's open to everybody. All kinds of neat little carving tips on there. So you can look at that. I have the published books already, and a new one coming
Sure,
out
sure.
hopefully next spring.
Yes.
New book. It's more biographical, covering
Well,
my
and that's
career.
what I mean. That's what I meant with the book coming. It's not
Yes.
like the other books that have
Yes.
been done. This is totally different of
Yeah,
what you've done in the past.
Yeah, great,
Yeah.
great content in it. It'll be, it should be a good read for everybody.
Awesome. And then your book's out.
I have a book, Carving a World Rig or Creating a World Rig, and that's a how-to book on 3 different species, carving and painting. And then I have tomchristieart.com as my website. And I just started a YouTube channel. It's Tom with a capital T space capital C, and I'm putting a lot of how-to stuff on that YouTube channel to
Awesome.
hopefully get people inspired and started in
Awesome.
decoy carving.
Awesome. So that's where you look for everybody. Appreciate you checking us out. And it's all happening with Final Approach.
Thanks, Mario.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.